You were taught the neat rules. Stash a little each month, tighten the belt when bills arrive, and trust that time will do the rest. I grew up with those rules too, the coin jar on the kitchen counter, the automatic transfer that felt like virtue, the quiet pride when the balance ticked up. Now, standing in my late 40s, I can tell you what those rules never promised. Momentum. For many of us in midlife, savings feel like an engine idling, reliable, comforting, but not propelling you forward. You wake to the same paycheck rhythm, small raises that barely outpace inflation, and a gnawing question about retirement and the legacy you'll leave behind. Picture this. It's late evening, the house quiet, bills spread across the kitchen table like a paper tide. My partner looks up from a spreadsheet and says, "We're doing everything right, aren't we?" I felt the ache in that question, the mix of pride and worry. That's the crossroads most of us reach. We've been disciplined, but we're not seeing the life we imagined. The markets whisper danger, family needs pull at your time, and the voice of caution is loud enough to paralyze. I know that voice intimately. I learned to respect it. It's kept bread on the table, yes. But I also learned that respect alone won't build the future I wanted. In this story, I'll be your guide, not with empty promises or risky shortcuts, but with the steady, seasoned perspective of someone who's walked from caution into confident progress. We'll face the real tests. Modest pay growth, the temptation to hide in cash, and the fear that by trying to protect everything you end up protecting nothing. I'll share the pivot that changed everything for me. A precise, practical step that honors your comfort with risk and turns disciplined saving into real, compounding growth without reckless bets. Before we move deeper, tell me, what's your biggest financial pain right now? If this resonates, give it a like so I know we're on the same road, and stay with me. The next part shows the exact move that creates momentum and why it works for people like us. The kitchen light is low. A single lamp throws a warm circle over a stack of statements, a laptop with a blinking cursor, and a coffee cup growing cold. I remember this exact evening. My hands trembling not from fear of numbers, but from the knowledge that something had to change. "We did the right thing," I told my partner, watching their shoulders ease at the word save. "We tucked money away every month. We tightened our lives. But it's not growing the way we hoped." My voice was steady, because the truth that followed had to be gentle and precise. Outside, the neighborhood hummed with ordinary life. Kids playing, the mail truck passing. While inside I felt the weight of time. Years of modest raises, promotions that barely outpaced inflation, and a market that felt like a cliff every few months had taught me a lesson the hard way. Security is a foundation, not a finish line. The tests came in small, relentless ways. A bathroom that needed fixing. A college fund that lagged behind tuition. The silent pressure of retirement calculations that refused to be optimistic no matter how carefully I adjusted the spreadsheet. I thought saving was the answer. I admit to you now, leaning closer as if sharing a remedy. But saving alone is like keeping water in a bucket with a tiny leak. Safe, yes, but the leak keeps you from filling what matters. I can see your face. Practical, cautious, ready to protect your family and legacy. You're not reckless. You fear loss. You also know the frustration of watching your balance barely move while life speeds up. So the journey moves forward. Allies you didn't expect. A simple plan, a disciplined habit, small allocations that honor your risk tolerance, and enemies that look like comfort and complacency. The turning point isn't dramatic fireworks. It's a quiet recalibration. A single precise step that shifts savings into a system that grows. The portfolio becomes intentional, not accidental. Picture shifting a fraction of that safe cash into thoughtfully chosen avenues that match your goals and sleep-easy risk. Picture compound momentum, month after month, like plants finally given the right soil. If this resonates, tap the like. Tell me you're with me. What's the biggest financial pain you'd want to solve? In the next segment, we cross the threshold together, and I'll show the exact first move that turned my stalled savings into steady, confident growth. The kitchen light is the only glow in the house. You sit at the table with a mug of lukewarm coffee and a stack of bank statements, the numbers whispering the same uneasy truth. You saved faithfully, year after year, and yet the future still feels distant. Across from you, your partner rubs tired eyes and says, "We did everything right, didn't we?" The question hangs like steam in the air. I know that voice. I've heard it in living rooms, on late-night calls, in the pause between paydays. It's the sound of pride braided with worry. As we walk together through this part of the journey, you'll meet the familiar obstacles. Small raises that dissolve into rising bills, retirement accounts that creep up slowly like a tide, and a market headline that freezes your stomach. There is an enemy here that no one told you about when they taught you to scrimp and stash. Safety without momentum feels like security, but it's also a leash. You feel secure because the money is there, but you can't see it growing the way you hoped. That's the subtle trap that keeps capable people stuck. You try to be brave. You talk with friends. One says, "Just keep saving, you'll be fine," while another, the cautious colleague, whispers, "Investing? Too risky at our age." Your accountant offers spreadsheets. Your neighbor brags about a bold move that made their retirement dream sing. Those are the allies and the sirens. Some counsel calms you, some tempts you, and some confuses you. I sit with you in that confusion, asking gentle, searching questions. How much safety is enough? What would it feel like to let disciplined saving meet a plan that actually accelerates growth? There are small victories. You reduce a recurring expense, you finally max out a retirement contribution for a month, and bruising setbacks, a dip in the market that makes you reconsider everything. Each test reshapes you. The turning point is near, but it's not dramatic thunder. It's a quiet shift in understanding. You begin to see that the fortress you've built with savings has a gate that can be opened intentionally. If this resonates, tap like and tell me, what's your biggest financial pain? Stay with me. Next, we'll step through that gate and map the exact move that turns steady savings into steady progress. The kitchen lamp hums above a stack of bills and a faded spreadsheet. You can feel the weight of every saved dollar like a stone in your pocket. Across from you, your partner rubs their temples and says, "We did everything right. Saved the emergency fund, paid down debt. So why is it still not moving?" That question hangs in the air like a low fog, familiar to so many at midlife. I remember sitting in that same chair years ago, palms raw from texting my broker at 2 in the morning during a sudden market drop. Fear made me freeze. Prudence made me stall. Neither moved the needle fast enough. In the weeks that follow, the journey throws tests. A neighbor who swears by safe bonds, a late-night infomercial promising quick returns, the siren of panic selling when headlines scream recession. You try a tiny allocation to growth assets and wake up watching every tick. The anxiety erases any small gains. You also meet allies, an old friend who set up automatic monthly investments and forgets them, a patient planner who sketches a simple glide path across a napkin, a forum of people your age treating investing like gardening, not gambling. You don't have to bet the farm, the planner says quietly, but you do have to plant seeds where growth can happen. One evening you practice a new exercise. Move a deliberate, measured slice of your idle savings into a low-cost diversified fund, automate a modest monthly contribution, and set an honest horizon. Honor your comfort, I tell you, but stop mistaking safety for progress. The first month brings jittery curiosity, the second a small, steady uptick, and with that upward nudge your confidence begins to thaw. You learn the difference between safety and stagnation. You begin to see how disciplined savings becomes momentum when paired with purposeful allocation and time. Which worry rings truest for you, the fear of loss, the paralysis of choice, or the habit of hoarding cash? If this resonates, tap like and tell me your biggest financial pain in the comments. Stay with me. The next step reveals the exact, repeatable framework that turns cautious saving into sustained growth. The late afternoon light slants through the blinds, dust motes drifting like small, patient promises. I sit across from Anna in her kitchen, her hands wrapped around a mug, knuckles white from worry. The papers on the table are the same ones, bank statements, a 401k summary, a spreadsheet of hopes and obligations. "I've saved my whole life," she says, voice thin, "but it feels like treading water. I'm scared to lose what I have." Her fear is the grammar of midlife, caution shaped by responsibility. I tell her what I've learned the hard way. Saving is shelter. Investing is growth. You don't have to choose between safety and progress, I say, and she leans in. We sketch a map on a napkin. Small steps that respect her comfort but aim for momentum. We agree on a precise move, just 1% more of her paycheck into a diversified, low-cost investment plan, automated so it happens without daily bravery. It's deliberate, measurable, reversible. If markets wobble, she asks, do we hide again? I shake my head. We steady. We rebalance. We remember this is a long road, not a sprint. There are tests. Her brother calls with a crisis. A car repair eats the emergency fund. The noise of headlines makes her stomach drop. I sit with her through each small panic, translating emotion into action. We set mini goals that let her feel wins. A 3% gain on a new allocation. A month without touching the emergency cushion. Those little victories are catalytic. They change the tone of the inner dialogue from fear to possibility. On the wall behind us, a simple framed photo of her grandchildren becomes the compass. Risk is no longer a villain but a measured tool to build the life she wants for them. I tell stories from my own mistakes. Times I clutched cash and watched opportunity pass. Times I leaned in and watched a tiny habit compound into breathing room. Her shoulders unfurl. Hope isn't naive anymore. It's practical. If this resonates, give it a quiet nod. Tap like, and tell me, what's your biggest financial pain? Stay with me, because next we turn this cautious progress into a clear strategy that withstands storms and accelerates toward the future you deserve. I remember the night we sat at my kitchen table like it was yesterday. Late light from the street lamp bleeding through the blinds, a mug gone lukewarm, a stack of old bank statements and a retirement packet between us. You weary from years of tucking money away, and me, at an age where I'd learned the hard lesson. Saving felt safe, but it wasn't growing you toward the life you imagined. I looked up and said, you did everything they taught you, so why does it still feel like spinning your wheels? You sighed, hands folding around the paper as if you could bend the future into something different. The tests came quickly after that. A raise that barely touched the balance after bills. A market dip that made your chest tighten. A conversation with your adult child about housing and legacy that left you sleepless. Each one poked at the belief that discipline alone would be enough. It was clear, discipline without direction is like rowing hard without a map. That's when I stopped talking numbers and started naming choices. Not reckless gambles, but small, deliberate moves that reorient money from a pile into motion. We walked through the room, opened windows to the city, and I sketched a simple truth. Savings give you safety. Assets give you momentum. I told you about ways to let your money work in the background. Steady, compounding, and aligned with your comfort around risk. We talked about employer matches as free money you don't want to leave on the table, about spreading risk so one shock doesn't derail the whole plan, and about finding low-cost pathways that don't demand timing the market. Your forehead eased for the first time. Curiosity replaced fear. You asked, but where do I even start? And I answered quietly, start with one honest step that fits your life. It wasn't a promise of overnight riches. It was a guidepost. Keep your savings, but add a channel that grows. If this resonates, give a quiet nod or a like, and tell me below. What's the one financial worry you carry at night? If you stay with me, next I'll lay out a simple, month-by-month blueprint you can begin this week to turn safety into steady momentum. That night, we sat at my kitchen table under the low lamp, bills spread like a map of choices. You could feel the weight in the room. Mortgage notice, school fees, the polite voice of retirement calculators whispering, you should have started sooner. I remember saying gently, you did the right thing saving. That discipline is your foundation. But foundations don't make a house grow upward on their own. She looked up, tired and skeptical. So what do we do with it? She asked. I drew 2 columns on a napkin. On one I wrote safety, emergency fund, short-term cash, debt reduction. On the other, growth. A plan that respects your comfort with risk but leans into returns that compound. This is the precise step, I said. You don't abandon saving. You partition it. Keep a secure buffer, then commit a predictable portion to a growth engine, diversified, low-cost, and consistent. Her fingers tapped the napkin like she was testing a new rhythm. We tested it slowly. The first month, she moved a modest, scheduled amount from checking into a growth account. The next month, a little more. When the market wobbled, she wanted to retreat. I reminded her of the cushion we had, and how compounding rewards patience. "It still scares me," she admitted, "but it's different from gambling. It feels like giving my money a job." That sentence hung in the air like a small victory. The real test came when an unexpected car repair ate into 2 months of contributions. We adjusted the allocation, we didn't panic sell. We tightened the discretionary line items temporarily and automated the contributions again. Each small decision built confidence. Rebalancing when things grew lopsided, choosing tax-advantaged doors when available, and treating growth contributions as non-negotiable bills for her future self. By the end of the quarter, she leaned back and smiled. Not because balances had doubled, but because she had a plan that moved money from safe storage into motion without reckless risk. If this resonates, give the video a like, and tell me in the comments, what's your biggest financial pain right now? Subscribe if you want the next step, where the plan is put to its harshest test and the real transformation begins. I found her at the kitchen table, late autumn light slanting through blinds, a half-drunk mug steaming beside a spreadsheet full of neat numbers that somehow still looked anxious. "I thought saving would be enough," she said, voice small against the hum of the refrigerator. "But every year it feels like I'm tucking money away into a safe that never grows." I sat down across from her, the same worn chair I've used in dozens of similar kitchens, and I didn't offer a lecture. I offered a map. We started simply. Not a radical gamble, not a get-rich scheme. Just a precise step that turns disciplined saving into steady gain. Think of your savings as a garden plot. Cash is the soil. Necessary, steady, protective. But if you want fruit, you plant seeds in tiers, some that grow slowly and reliably, some that take a little risk but yield more. I drew a rough sketch on a napkin. An emergency bed of cash, a defensive row of bonds or conservative funds for stability, and a growth patch of diversified investments that match your comfort with risk. "Can I sleep at night with that?" she asked. I nodded. "That's the point. We design for your life." We automated the process that night, scheduled contributions, set rebalancing reminders, and trimmed needless fees that had quietly eaten her returns. We claimed employer match she'd been leaving on the table, shifted a bit from high-fee accounts to low-cost funds, and agreed on a small, manageable allocation for growth. She felt the pull to do more, side hustles, learning new skills, but we folded those into the plan as optional accelerants, not desperate leaps. There were tests. A dip in the market that made her stomach tighten. A tempting headline offering fast gains. Each time we returned to the map, to the rule that compound progress needs time and consistent inputs. Small wins came. A quarter where returns nudged upward. The relief of knowing the emergency cushion wouldn't be touched. Her posture changed. The lines on her face softened. "This feels like momentum, not anxiety," she said, and it was true. If this resonates, tap like and tell me, what's your biggest financial worry right now? Stay with me. Next we'll face the final test, the real moment where momentum meets choice, and you'll see how to protect gains while letting them grow. The kitchen light is low, a soft rectangle on the table where bills, a laptop, and a half-drunk mug sit like witnesses to a restless night. You fold another receipt, look up, and I say nothing for a moment because the hardest part has already been done. You showed up. Then I lean forward, voice steady, the kind of voice that comes from years of making measured mistakes and learning from them. "Saving kept you safe," I say. But safety alone doesn't create momentum. We need to make money work for you. You ask the practical questions. How much do I move? Where do I put it? What if the market tumbles? I answer with a plan that respects your comfort and your life. We keep the emergency cushion, we automate contributions so emotion doesn't steer the ship, and we start inching a portion of your savings into productive assets. Low-cost index funds or diversified ETFs, a small allocation to growth that grows with you. Not a gamble, but a steady, repeatable habit. Think core and satellite, I tell you. The core is steady, broad exposure. The satellites capture opportunities without risking everything. There are scenes of small victories. A first automatic transfer executed, a confirmation email opened with trembling fingers, a conversation with an HR rep about increasing 401k match, a late-night review of a simple spreadsheet that now shows a gentle upward slope. There are also tests, a market dip that tests your nerve, a nephew asking for money, and we respond with rules, not panic. Keep the cushion, rebalance calmly, add to positions on weakness, and keep learning. I remind you that growth doesn't mean ignoring debt or taxes. It means integrating them into the plan, paying down high-interest loans, using tax-advantaged accounts, and protecting what matters. You feel the shift from caution to agency. Your posture changes, the tightness around your jaw eases, and for the first time in years you see a horizon that feels reachable. If this resonates, tap the like, and tell me what's your biggest financial pain right now. Subscribe and join me for the final step, where we bind these moves into a simple, lifelong blueprint that protects your peace and accelerates prosperity. The sun has slid low outside the window. The kitchen table holds a notebook, a mug cooling, and a small envelope of savings. Familiar props to anyone who spent a lifetime doing what they were told. Save, tighten, wait. I fold my hands and meet your eyes, because this journey was mine too. For years I kept the wheels turning. Automatic deposits, careful budgets, an avoidance of risks that felt reckless. Safe, comfortable, stalled. You remember the tests. Unexpected repairs, small raises that evaporate, the quiet dread of whether those savings will be enough for retirement or to leave anything behind. You ask me, sometimes with anger, sometimes with a weary laugh, isn't saving supposed to be the answer? I nod. Saving is the beginning, not the finish line. The turning point came when I learned to let disciplined saving meet smart growth. Not gambling, not flashy tips, but specific, steady moves that honor caution and create momentum. Picture us at that same table again, tracing a simple plan on a napkin. Keep the emergency cushion, yes, but commit a portion of your monthly savings to low-cost, diversified investments. Use tax-advantaged accounts. Automate contributions so your future grows without daily decisions. Rebalance occasionally, and insure intelligently against catastrophic loss. Small, repeatable choices that compound. The hero's reward isn't a lottery win. It's the relief of watching your money begin to work for you. Quietly, reliably, season by season. I won't promise a thrill. I will promise clarity, respect for your comfort with risk, and a step-by-step path you can follow. Courage here isn't bravery in a single act. It's consistency. It's the calm decision to shift some of your certainty into a framework that produces growth. Many of you will find that the fear that once paralyzed you loosens when you see a plan mapped in plain terms. So tell me, what's the one financial pain that keeps you awake at night? If this resonated, give it a like, quiet, simple, and subscribe so we can keep walking this path together. In the next video, I'll lay out a practical 90-day plan to turn your saving into steady wealth-building momentum. Ready to take the first step?